What's up, motorheads? I'm Mitch Nelson, and we're back in the garage today. I just bought this 98 Firebird. It's a V6, so it's got the low-rise spoiler on it. Not big a fan of that, but it's a 6-speed, which is pretty neat. It's got the 3800 series engine. We have plans later on down the road. We want to try and swap that out. I have a couple of LS motors lying around. We may see if we can get into that. But for now, it's a pretty solid car, except for it's dying at idle. And I think it may have something to do with the mass airflow sensor, the TPS, the IAC, something to do right there in the throttle body. We're going to clean those out today, see if we can get it running better at idle, and then we may take it for a burn down the road. Never know. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and get this set up, throw it on the Diagnostics, and just see what all codes we can pull up. I have scanned it once before. I erased them. It may not pop up. At the moment, I know it did show a Bank 1 sensor 3 for the O2 sensor, which is kind of odd. It's kind of back there by the mufflers, and then something to do with just a clutch switch thing where, I don't know, not a big deal. But we're gonna run it through one more time just because I wanna show you guys what it looks like with the engine running and how the mass airflow sensor does, the TPS and the IAC, all that. We're just gonna see what our results are, and then that gives us a better judgment. I'll explain what we're gonna be checking out there. First thing, we gotta plug the car in. GM, automatic selection. We're going to have it read the VIN number. Too lazy to type it all in myself. There we go. Click OK. We have a manual transmission, 1998 Firebird, 3.8 liter. That's it. I'll go ahead and show you that if I start the vehicle up, it will die. So that's it. That's not what we want, but I'll give it a little throttle and hopefully it'll stay running. Okay, now if we come back to here. So now we can see that our mass airflow sensor is at 0.02. It's not very much value there. Our IAC is at 75. We're probably going to go ahead and clean that off, take a look at it. And the throttle position sensor is at 0.53. So we may need to adjust that up. I'd like to see it a little higher, especially since I'm giving it throttle right now. I'd like to see that more at like a 0.7 or 0.8. But that's what it looks like computer-wise from this standpoint. So we'll get out under the engine. We'll go ahead and give those a good clean. Okay, so we're out under the engine bay now, and I've got me a small ratchet, a little extension, and a T20 Torx bit. We're going to be going right here. This is our mass airflow sensor. Connects in through the throttle body area. It's got two T20 Torx bits bolts. And we're going to just pull that off of there and see how clean it is inside of that. There's two little springs in there that we need to check and make sure are clean. So first things first, we need to take this sensor off. So there's a clip on the back side of it. You just pull that off of there. And then we're going to go ahead and take these bolts out. So we're going to throw that in the tray. I need to loosen this one just a little more. All right, fantastic. Make sure you throw your tool on the ground below the car. All right, so here we are. We've got our mass airflow sensor right here. Now these little springs, I don't know if the camera can pick up on that well. What do you think? There's two little springs in there. And you want to check those out and make sure that they're clean. Obviously, the main thing you want to do is check to make sure this plastic shroud right here is still in good shape. I actually have a mass airflow sensor over there that I'll try and get a shot of. It broke off. This doesn't look too bad, and we want to check our O-ring right here that goes around. That's kind of like our gasket. That's what seals it once it's down in here, so you don't get any air leaks, you know, anything like that. So this doesn't look to be in too bad a shape. I am going to clean it with some mass airflow cleaning stuff, you know. Not brake clean, you don't want to do that. But we're going to give this a clean, and then we are going to check on our IAC back here and we'll get that off in just a second. We're going to clean it as well. I don't think we're going to mess with the TPS yet, just because, which throttle position sensor, because it was a little low, but I'm going to see if cleaning these two things off give us a sign of hope. We'll get back at it. Off camera, I went ahead and shot a little bit of this CRC QD electronic cleaner. You don't want to use brake cleaner on your mass airflow sensor to clean it, just because, I don't know, you don't do that. So use this electronic cleaner. I sprayed just a little bit on those wires in there, and I used the air gun, blew them off very carefully, and I think this thing's ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and bundle it back in there, go ahead and plug it back in, because we do want to clean our throttle body while we're here. So I think this is in good shape. So we're going to bolt it back up, and then our next step, before we clean the throttle body, I'd like to go ahead and take off the IAC, and we are going to take a look at it too. It's kind of the same scenario. It's got an O-ring around it too that acts like a gasket. We want to get that cleaned up, put it back on, and then we're going to tackle the throttle body. So we'll get to this next. All right, so this is our idle air control sensor, and as you can see, it's seen better days, but one thing you may notice is it doesn't have the little O-ring around this side of it. But if you look from this side, you can see the O-ring actually stayed in here. When that spring in there is just awful carboned up, I'd like to go ahead and get a nice clean idle air control sensor. So I'm going to spray a little bit of that electronic cleaner into where I just took out the idle air control sensor, just to get that a little cleaned up in there. And I'll take a nice rag to it, a clean rag to it. We'll wipe that out. That way, once we get our new sensor here in a bit, it'll have a nice clean surface to mate up to. We are going to go ahead and clean out our throttle body plate. So first we need to take out this sensor right here, and then it looks like we'll just need a flathead screwdriver. Going to loosen that up, and we can take this whole hose system off. This back here just pulls off. So let me grab a flat screwdriver. We'll go with this. It should be loosened up enough. And it looks like we have two of the body clip style push-in things right here. There we go. There's one. There's two. Those things are really in there. Now this whole thing should be able to come off, yeah. So now I've got some air intake cleaner. While I spray this through this mesh right here, all I'm going to do is reach forward and pull the throttle plate. That way I can adjust it and hope that I can clean it out a little better. So I sprayed a bit in there and adjusted the throttle plate. That way it would hopefully clean that out a little bit. Now I've got my MAF back on, and I am going to go ahead and install the sensor that I got from O'Reilly's, that idle air control sensor. We're going to put that back on over here. Okay, so we're going to hook up our wires again, make sure that's clipped on good. I've got the IAC back on, the MAF is on, TPS, we are going to check that in just a bit. I just want to start it up now that everything's been cleaned a bit, and then we're going to scan it again while it's running and see how that throttle position sensor is looking now. Okay, go ahead and put those body clips back in. There's one. There's the other. We're going to tighten down our clamp. Always check to make sure that around you don't have any gaps or anything. You don't want it to leak air. Tighten that down a bit. Now we're going to start her up and see if we did anything at all. Here we go. I'm not throttling it at all, and it hasn't died. So So far so good. We're gonna run the scan on it again just to have a look. But I'm already pretty proud of myself. Give it the old engine data 1. Now if we look through, our idle air control is actually down to 67. If you remember, it was around that 80 to 88 area. Always check before you leave. I didn't plug this back in, so just showing you for the comments that I did plug that back in. So there you go. Yeah. So if you take a look over here in the dash, our check engine light's not on. We have a security light on, but it's Firebird. That happens. Our brake light is on, but e-brake's off, so we'll take a look at that another day. But for right now, we're gonna take it for its first drive. Here we go. Here we go. All right, it's running pretty good. Shifting through each gear pretty good. Third. I'm not gonna go getting on it just yet. This is the first time I've drove it, so. Went into every gear, no issues. Transmission's good. It's got this nice double DIN radio already installed. Everything seems fine. I went ahead, I checked the oil, I checked power steering fluid, all the fluids you can think of, antifreeze, everything. So it's all good to go, and it seems like it's running pretty good so far. You think so?
Yeah.
Not too bad. We'll get it out to the highway and we'll see.